It's time for the Bleed Los Podcast with your hosts, Alonso and Juan, Alicia Del Valle, and the babyface gimmick in the sky, Roger.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. From the preseason NFL to college kicking off, BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our winner-take-all $300,000 NFL Survivor Pool for the upcoming season. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today and use promo code BLEAV and get in on the action. BetOnline. The game starts here.
Okay, we have a special one today. Welcome, gentlemen, to the Bleed Los podcast. I'm very excited to talk to these gentlemen today. First of all, let me get through these introductions. And both of you, so much going on. Total renaissance man. I tease Ned about this all the time. He is a true renaissance man. Let me just get through some of these. Not only is Ned Colletti our former general manager of our Los Angeles Dodgers, but when you look up sports executive, you see a photo of Ned Colletti, okay? He's one of the few who's worked in both National Hockey League, Major League Baseball. He's got one of the most winningest records as a general manager for a Major League Baseball team. Thank you, Dodgers. And you've written your memoirs. You are a professor at Pepperdine University. You are a travel aficionado, and now you are a co-author of a gorgeous art book dedicated to our Dodgers, brought to you by this gentleman sitting right next to you, Dave Hobrecht, who's also world-renowned sports artist. I mean, again, I could just take up all of our time introducing both of you. And Dave Hobrecht, also an instructor professor at a university. So higher education is in you. So is community. I could go on and on, but I really want to get to your book. Congratulations on you both for putting together this gorgeous piece of art, which is we can hold in our hands. Congratulations, gentlemen. Welcome to the Bleed Los.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great to be with you two today.
So I feel like, Roger, maybe you should hold up the book because I want our guests to understand just how gorgeous and special this piece of art is.
Cool.
So right away, you know,
Look at
this
a copy
book
here.
is dedicated to the Dodgers, correct?
Yeah, I mean, look at it. I mean, you know, it's one of those hardback covers, you know, great cover. I mean, Dodgers art book, you know, you have your brush right here on the side. So it looks like it's just freshly, you know, drawn, you know, you've got this art book. And then once you open it up, I mean, just gorgeous. I mean, you talk about Dodgers history. I mean, it goes back from, there's images of, you know, how they've worked on all these pieces. Just, I mean, I know you can't see it from here, and we'll show some pictures later. But I mean,
hold it up while I
mean, it's just Dodger. You're holding Dodgers history. Just so many iconic images, and I mean, it's you got to get this to just, I mean, just to like actually look through this and be like, wow, this is an incredible art book.
It's the All-Time Dodgers art book, written by Dave Hobrecht and Ned Colletti. Congratulations, gentlemen. So how did this all come about, putting together this book?
David, go for it.
Okay, I'll go for it. Written by the man, Ned Colletti. The one thing, so we got to know each other. He came to the gallery in Laguna Beach a while back, and we got to know each other through a piece of art I did for him. He had an idea that he wanted on canvas, and we put it together. And through the process, we ended up, you know, just chatting up. I love baseball stories. Ned's got a million of them, so I'd eat up any story he'd have. And it was fun. We got to be friends. And at the end of the, basically at the end of the painting, we were just chatting up. And he was asking me what I was going to do next. And I was telling him I was going to switch sports, do some other stuff. And he's like, nah, stay in baseball. And I had an idea in my head, and I pitched him. And I said, hey, can I pitch you? He was coming off The Big Chair, that great book he wrote. And I'm like, you're a writer. I go, I'm an artist. I have this idea of an art book. And you don't get a GM's perspective often, right? You don't get that inside track. And so I said, you know, I'd love to have a book where we pick an all-time Dodgers team, picked by you, Ned, using whatever methods you do, and he'll explain what methods he used. And then I would love to tell the stories of who he picked and why and that kind of stuff in my art. And so basically that's how it started. It was really simple. It was just an idea. I kind of had a vision in my head, and Ned was gracious enough to agree and partner with me on it. And it kind of went from there and started writing.
When he came to me with the idea, it was interesting right out of the first conversation. And I had so much respect for his work. Everybody should stop in and see his work at the gallery. I mean, if you got 10 minutes, you're going to be there for an hour. I mean, it's got too much to it, not too much. It's got such good stuff to it. It's just captivating. And I'm not an art guy. I don't know much about it, but I know what I like something. And his work was like that. And his idea, I thought, was going to be a like unique approach to something. I don't know that there's any other book out there that is like this for any other organization, let alone one of the most iconic organizations in the history of sport. And then we decided, we're gonna select those players who represent the all-time team. Never easy. You're always going to get an argument. So this book was a handful of years in the making, and it gave me time to talk to scouts, to talk to people who had seen the Dodgers of the 50s and a little bit before that, who knew Roy Campanella, who understood Jackie Robinson and what the great Mr. Robinson went through. And I canvassed scouts, I canvassed some great announcers who we know very well, and just ask for opinions. So what do you think made this team great? What do you think made this player great? And we looked at a lot of different characteristics, including how much service time a player had with the team. Did they make it to the postseason? If they did, how they play in the postseason? Did they win any titles? Did they serve their country? Did they serve their community? Were they well-rounded, great people who did a lot of good things socially as well as athletically? And we put it together. And it was hard. I'm not going to tell you it was easy. Just these are the 25, 26. This is going to be a snap. No, we went back and forth, and I begged the artist to increase the size of the team many times. And when MLB went from 25-man roster to 26, I thought, well, at least that'll help me with one more. But yeah, we didn't argue. I debated with him, and he said, no, we got to keep it as tight as possible.
And so much history, right, with this renowned, iconic organization to pull from. So I could imagine how difficult it was to narrow down a book, right? I mean, and to write a book is difficult. I want to remind everybody, and to collaborate. And, Dave has, his background is so unique and so special. I love Ned's story of how he ventured into your studio, Dave, in Laguna. And then boom, just ideas started sprouting from both of you for the love of the game, for the love of Dodgers.
Right.
And so kind of makes sense that you two would collaborate with Ned's experience, inside track experience. And then Dave's, where you've come from, Dave. I've read about your story. I hope it's okay that I bring it up. I mean, you've had a pretty unique and special way that you got into drawing, right? You specialize in charcoal drawing and pastel. I mean, look at that piece behind you. Is that not a testament? What a gorgeous piece of art to sit under every day. I bet you stay pretty inspired, right? So you want to tell us a little bit about how you got into drawing? And
yeah, so basically what happened was back when I was younger, it was the first day of summer before high school. I was crossing the street. I just got back from the beach. My two sports were surfing and baseball. And I just got back from the beach. I was crossing the street. Legitimately, I don't know what actually happened because there was two witnesses, and both witnesses said something different. But I got hit by a car, and I got knocked a few weeks out of me. Legs shattered, knees ripped off, and just a whole mess, and half body cast for a while. And I was in a chair for a while. And back then, like the kids nowadays, they have so much fun stuff that they can do. I have games and phones and this and that. I had paper and pencil. So basically in my hospital bed, I just started drawing and, just sketching out things, mostly surf and baseball stuff. And basically I just never stopped. So, I didn't know I was going to be in a career. Went to school, went to USC and did business school at SC. Came back, worked for my pop for a while. Yep, exactly. And then the art just was yanking at me. And what was yanking at me even more was surfing and baseball. So I was the cartoonist at Surfer Magazine. And then I started doing baseball cards for Topps for fun. And it was like a side gig. And then I finally just, I said, you know what? I love it so much. I'm going to jump ship for my job and go full-time art. And I've been blessed with great clients. And then this guy walks in the door and I get to paint with Ned Colletti, which was great, and become a friend of his and chat baseball. It was like, it's dream job stuff, and next thing you know, we put together a Dodgers book. Like, that's ridiculous, it's so fun. So yeah, I loved it. So that's kind of basically how I got into the art.
One of the cool things I think about the work of Dave is that, there's idiosyncrasies to every athlete. There's something that they're famous for besides what they've done on the field, perhaps. And a lot of the things that I thought was interesting to that particular person/player, not player/person, but person/player, we incorporated. And I told him about different things that players had done or accomplished in their life outside of the game. And he found a way to include that in the painting. Like, Duke Snider was the Duke of Flatbush, right? Which was the area of Brooklyn that the Dodgers played in. And so having something in that neighborhood was special. Maybe his house, maybe his address in the painting somewhere, maybe in a mirror, in a reflection, Norman Rockwell-ish type of thing. Yeah. But a lot of the paintings have got something in it, Dave, right? That's kind of unique to that person. There's a great painting.
That was a great one that Ned came up with for Snyder to moving to the LA. And he's right, inside it's kind of hidden, but in the reflection of the car he's driving to, basically driving to LA in is a reflection of his house. It's subtle. And another one that Ned and I came up with too was Gil Hodges. He brought home the Bronze Star. So in that painting, in the background, in the stadium part, there's a Bronze Star hidden, and you can't see it, but once you see it, then you can't not see it, right? So we got to do all these details, and with, a baseball guy like Ned, who's been around for so long and knows so much, the wealth of information, I would just listen and stories would come out, and I would think of stuff. So I always say, I'm good at art, but there's no way I could have pulled this book off unless I have information. And that was what the great combination of Ned and I was, he's got so much stuff to offer. I have some stuff to offer, and we put it together and made a pretty good book.
Pretty good. Yeah, I would say pretty good. That you're being honest. It's gorgeous. I was fortunate enough to see the book in person at Legends Attic, which is Dave Hobrecht's it's a collaboration between you and Oral Hershiser, your buddies, that also just came together from you all hanging around talking sports, right?
Yeah,
like looking at Oral Hershiser's stuff in his attic or garage. I mean, I love that you gentlemen truly are authentically about the love of the game, the love of sports. So I recommend everybody get to Legends Attic because you could see some 100%. Of your pieces there in person. And the All-Time Dodgers art book is also available there, right? If someone wants to pick one up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Oral was so nice enough. Ned introduced me to Oral. I had met him I met Oral first time at one of the days at Dodger Stadium, one of the fan days, and I was live painting on the field, and I painted Oral for the Dodgers Foundation. So I met him there, and then Ned brought me to the stadium to meet Oral more in person. And so we went into the booth with him and Joe in there, and Oral was, we got to know him. He's a great guy, and he was nice enough to write the foreword. And we did a really special painting in the moment section on his 59 scoreless. And Oral's just an unbelievable guy, great guy. And so I was really excited that Ned introduced me, and we became, again, just this thing came collaborators because we all have common interests and we share the same ideals, and friendships broke. And yeah, he's great. You could buy it at Legends Attic, which is a great store. So he has copies of the book there. Yeah.
That's
Real,
awesome. And so,
real,
Roger, hold up the book.
yeah. Well, let me put up some of those
Oh, yes.
paintings
So we'll give you some
and
examples.
he just mentioned the 59 scoreless innings. I got
Yeah.
that one. So
There it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so kind of like what Ned did, what Ned would describe things like in great detail. And again, I couldn't have done these paintings without Ned describing these details. Oral is similar, and that's why we get along because I, in my paintings, love details. I like the little stuff. So on this one here, 59 scoreless, like Oral got on the phone, goes, "Hey, I want to tell you about that day before you paint my piece because I want you to like think about a couple of things that happened." So there's a lot of stuff in there. Like first of all, it was Jack Murphy, but I like the Qualcomm setup better, so I threw it back there. And then the scoreboard itself. He said he wanted, Tommy was kind of a father figure to him, so that's why Tommy's arms are out, basically going to embrace, but of course Drysdale was there watching Oral break the record, and then little stuff like the scoreboard. The graphic on the right that says congratulations, and right here of the score sitting, that actually was the graphic when Drysdale broke it, but I kind of changed it for Oral. So there's like little cool things in there.
Yeah.
So that was basically what we did here with the 59 scoreless.
It's gorgeous. So much detail. Roger, can we do another one? I love hearing the backdrop. And again, these are just examples of what we can find inside the all-time Dodgers sports book or art book. Look at
I
that.
really
Please
like this
tell
one
us
with
about this
some
one.
Dodger legends right here, some pitching legends.
Yeah, that one's a great one. I love that one. That one's 8 foot. That's the big one. That's the biggest of the series.
And
Now,
so,
if you look closely at this, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, when you look to the far left and you see Dazzy Vance there, that's Brooklyn's Ebbets Field behind him. And then when you look through the rest of the pitchers that pitched in LA, you see Dodger Stadium behind them.
Yep,
You
that's
look
true.
at the top of the scoreboards out there, you'll see the Brooklyn B to the left, and you'll see the LA to the right. So we had a franchise that played in 2 different cities, 2 different coasts. So we needed to do justice and pay our respects to everybody. And so it's one of the cool things I think of Dave's work is that you do have, and as a background, you have the transition from Ebbets Field to Dodger Stadium and Brooklyn to LA.
And when he mentioned that, I went back and started looking at. I'm like, okay, what Easter eggs do I find in here? And yeah, I see the Ebbets Field behind him, over here on top left, and then transitions into Dodger Stadium. Very 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 cool.
I see Fernando, friend of the Carne Asada. I'm a big Kershaw fan. I mean, every time we get to see Kershaw pitch, we're watching a future Hall of Famer. And we don't know how long he's going to keep doing this at this level. So I always encourage Dodger fans to, put some respect on Kershaw's name. But tell me about some of these others in here, please.
Yeah, Ned, you want to hit it or you want me?
Go ahead. I'll follow up.
So Ned picked this. This is his 9. And we have great ones, and the one that, it's people come in and they're Dodger fans, but it's hard to pick out, and name them all, especially like Dazzy Vance, being, at the time he played. And then I wanted to mess people up. And so I put in a rookie Sutton in there. So you wouldn't be able to see his curly hair, the normal Sutton. So number 20 gets everybody. But yeah, this is Ned's staff. This is who he would pick. So Ned, you could tell him why you picked all these guys, of course.
Well, you think about the first 2 people you see, and for me, they'll always be kind of tied together, and that's Koufax and Drysdale.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start there, and then Dave works his way back. The guy who closed the games at the end of the game is at the end of the picture, Kenley. Okay, so it was important that we go through the history of it, and we go through the players that had, at least in our opinion, and the scouts' opinion, and some other media people's opinion, the most impact on the organization at different points in time. But it's also because they were Dodgers. When you see this, it almost looks like a family portrait of people all in one place, celebrating what they've done in concert with, in collaboration with each other. And Clayton never met Don Drysdale, yet they're in the same picture. I don't know if Kenley ever met, and I know Kenley never met Dazzy Vance, you know. So it's like he was able to take generations of players and put them in a unified pose picture that brings them all together. There may be 80 years of Dodgers baseball in this picture from beginning. We got Dazzy Vance in the far left and Clayton to the far right, and everybody in between. You have decades accounted for in this particular drawing. Pretty
And
phenomenal.
It's awesome to see Kenley at the back. We just had Kenley on, Dodgers all-time saves leader.
Yep.
I mean, when they were here, he was here a couple weeks ago with the Red Sox. I was telling him, it was incredible just to see. As I wanted to talk to him there at the stadium, but he was just so busy talking to everybody. I mean, from players to personnel to staff, just the way this guy is revered by just the Dodgers organization, just awesome to see. And I told him, I know one day we're going to be seeing that 74 up at Dodger Stadium hanging because he's destined for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I was the guy that had to talk him into becoming a pitcher. He was a catcher for us, and he needed to be put on the roster. And he in my opinion, he didn't hit well enough, right? And he's a big man, so he blocked the umpire's view from time to time. And he said, "I'm not doing it. I'm going to be a big league catcher and hitter." And we changed him, and a year later, he was in the big leagues. And a few weeks later, he was closing games, and he's one of the all-time great save leaders. And when pitchers would hit once in a while, and he had a bat because the lineup turned over, and they were out of pitching or whatever, and he'd end up hitting. And sometimes would get a hit. I'd get a text message from him. See, I told you I could hit in the big leagues, But when I see Kenley there, I think of my times there, and Kirsch obviously was our first pick my first year in the draft. So good to see them. I've done a little bit of TV with Fernando. I've done TV with Oral in there. I've had the honor to meet Don Sutton before he passed on, and Don Drysdale. And of course, Sandy Koufax has been somebody that has been so kind to me through the years, and ultra respectful on his end, which made my respect for him just multiplied tenfold.
It's so phenomenal. Again, all of these examples of what you will find inside the All-Time Dodgers art book, which this is so unique. I'm so excited to be telling our Bleed Los fam about this. And once again, I was lucky enough to hold one and see it in person at Legends Attic, which is where it's available, right, gentlemen? But it's also available at Barnes & Noble and at alltime.com. And I'm going to encourage everybody, get one for yourself. And this would be such a wonderful gift. And I love speaking with Dave. He specifically wanted it to be affordable, to be accessible, so that Dodger fans and baseball fans, sports fans, history fans can enjoy this book. Correct, Dave?
Yeah, correct. I was telling you because they wanted to price it. Art books usually go for a little higher for some reason. And they wanted me to price this, my first publisher I was talking to, at between $90 and $120. I'm like, absolutely not. I want to price it at a good price. I want everybody to enjoy it, and everybody enjoyed Ned's words and his vision, and then my art. So I just wanted it a little bit more affordable. I didn't cut corners in quality. We spent, it comes in a nice box, the whole thing. So I think we pulled it off pretty well, and then we got it at a price that is nice, which is $40.
Look at that. So
this picture here.
That one's the ultimate. This is Ned telling a story to me, and I was just shocked when he's telling me this story. He could tell better than I can, so I'll let him tell it. But when he said this, I'm like, well, God, that's got to be the book. That's got to be the book. He's like, well, there's no pictures of it. I'm like, that's fine. We'll create it together, and we'll make a section. And this is what kind of made the moment section start in the book, because we didn't have a moment section yet. We were trying to figure out where to put a few things like Gibby's home run and moving to LA and 59 scoreless. We were still kind of trying to figure that out, but this thing solidified it. Okay, let's do an all-time moment section in the book, and this is a story that Ned can tell.
Yes.
You see Don Newcomb, Jackie Robinson, Roy Campanella, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I was dear friends with Don Newcomb I love talking to Nuke. I learned so much, and we talked a little bit of baseball, but we talked a ton about life. And he told me that before Dr. King was assassinated, that they would get together with Campy and Jackie and Nuke and Dr. King and talk about civil rights, talk about how to make the world a more equitable place for everybody, and how Dr. King had told them, you have been you three guys have been a tremendous boost to our enthusiasm and getting the word out and having people understand the value of equality. And Nuke told me, we would have dinner. We would have dinner together off and on. In fact, I think he said that they had a dinner just a couple weeks before Dr. King was assassinated. And so the poignancy for me of Nuke and his storytelling and the things that he had seen in his life, I wanted to capture somehow. So I came to Dave and I said, there's, Don Newcomb is somebody that's revered in Dodger history for many, many reasons. And here's a story. And, I don't know that we could ever find a photo of it, but, your creativity could put something together. And so there it is. And where is this picture now, Dave? Where's the original?
So this one, I was in contact with Bob Kendricks at the Negro Leagues Museum in Kansas City, which is a special place, just a great museum. And that guy, that's another gentleman that everybody should meet. His stories and his information and his knowledge is off the charts about the Negro Leagues and the players in it, all types of stories. So, it's unbelievable to me that this piece, I love it so much, but this piece would be hanging permanently at that museum. And there was an odd story. What happened is that during shipment, and I've shipped paintings all over the world, and they are packaged the same way. But for some reason, this painting, something happened to it, and it got broken in half. Okay. And Bob called me. He's like, and we were supposed to release it a few days later at Jackie Robinson Day, and I just couldn't believe it. So I'm flying out. He goes, "What do you want to do?" And our first thoughts were to crop it, and he's like, "No, let's keep it together." I said, "Okay, let's keep it together. I do like the composition." So we separated it more, put white behind it so you could really see the break in it. And he spoke in front of all this media, and I don't know his words, but he was amazing. And he just said, he goes, "It's just like these men. This painting is just like these men. You can try to break them, but it's impossible. They just keep going." And now this painting is framed, broken, and it's an awesome sight when you go there and see it and the story behind it. So
it's so momentous to be able to hear that story. I did not know about this particular piece, and there are more examples of these type of artworks. This artwork with the All-Time Dodgers artwork. Please, I implore everyone to go and grab one yourself, gift it, one for you, one for me, which is what I say. Thank you, Roger. And make sure you go to alltime.com and pick yours up if you can't get to these museums to see these special, unique pieces of art. Thank you, Ned, for sharing that history with us. Thank you, Dave, for sharing your time. I know we're going to lose you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you once again for putting this together. Again, if you're a sports fan, a history fan, a Dodgers fan, you have to get this book. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for having us on. You ever need a Dodger conversation? Hit me up.
Yes.
Thanks, Ned. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, you guys.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
This episode has been brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here.